Helens School is a two-form entry school. We currently have 421 children on roll. We're situated in a small village in Rainhill, Merseyside. Rainhill is in the St Helens Borough Council. St Helens itself is in an area of high socio-economic deprivation. Rainhill, on the other hand, is a relatively affluent area of St Helens. Through the Small Step Improvement Programme, we wanted to tackle parental perceptions because we wondered whether the low uptake of school meals was down to parental perceptions. Did they think that school meals in the year 2009-10 were the same as the school meals that they experienced as a child? Possibly we thought that was the reason why they were put off their own children taking school meals, and so we wanted to overcome that perception with the parents. At St Anne's, whenever we put in place a new initiative, we like to involve the whole school community. So we sold the idea to the staff. Helen, the Healthy School co-ordinator, did a staff meeting, and given that we are a healthy school, the staff straight away were on board with the idea of the initiative. Through the school council, we were able to commission a questionnaire for the children. So every class in school has a school counsellor. The school counsellor questioned the children as to what they liked about dinner times, what they liked about school meals, and that information was fed back at one of our fortnightly school council meetings. When we received the feedback from the school council, I was actually quite surprised at what the school council said, because I suppose I naively thought that the reason that the children weren't taking school meals was because of the quality of the food itself. But the feedback from the children was, in actual fact, they liked the food that was on offer at the school, and the things that they would like to see improved, the things that were putting them off taking school meals, was the fact primarily that they couldn't sit with their friends. To change the dining routine, we staggered the lunchtime so that year groups came in one at a time on a rota basis, and we allocated the tables so that one half of the table was for school meals, that the opposite half of the table was for packed lunch. So effectively, if a packed lunch child wanted to sit opposite a school meal child, they could do so, whereas previously they were in a different hall. Between October and Christmas of 2009, we ran some parent taster sessions, and what we did was, one day each week we would invite the parents or grandparents or an adult representative to come and take a free school meal with their child. So that week, even the children who paid for school lunches were entitled to a free school meal that week. So they came in just before the rest of the school came in with their parents and sat with the child to encounter the school meals. And it was nice going round and speaking to the parents, because I think we were right that it was parental perceptions. They did expect the school meals to be like they were when they were at school, and in actual fact I think they were surprised to see that they had things like pasta, they had things like rice, which weren't options in the past. I think the local authority have flagged us up as a success story, really, because our school meal numbers have rocketed from 99, which I mentioned at the start, to 199 on average now, which is great news. And again, the free school meal indicator, more children on free school meals, I think that number is more or less trebled.
We attended the Small Step Improvement first meeting, and that was for myself to attend. We took a governor with us and the school cook, and then we had an opportunity to decide together what we felt was our next step to try and improve the uptake. And so those three people initially, and then we came back to school and we shared this with the head teacher, and then we told the staff what we wanted to do, and they joined us in trying to promote this initiative in school. I think the main issues with the school lunch service is that many children had packed lunches because their friends had packed lunches, and we needed to find a way of showing that school lunches were great, first of all from the perception of the children, but also to try and find ways in which the children who wanted to have packed lunches could eat with the children who were having school dinners. And I think once we'd addressed that as an issue, that in itself helped raise the uptake of school dinners, because the children were able to eat together, which we believed was an issue right at the start of this initiative. Parents were given an information pack, and in that information pack we included information from the School Foods Trust about free school meals. We included our local authority information about applying for free school meals. We included a menu so the parents could see over a cycle of a few weeks what the children would be eating. We also included a questionnaire encouraging the parents to let us know what they thought of the taster session. And then as a sort of incentive to the parents to return the questionnaires, I contacted St Helens Healthy Living team, and they agreed very kindly to put together a approximately £30 hamper for the parents, so that if they returned their questionnaire, their name would be entered into a draw, and then a draw would be taken and they would obviously win the hamper. So that was a good incentive. The questionnaires that were returned, the parents were very positive about the experience. Many of the returned questionnaires, the parents then chose for their child to go on to school dinners. And those two parents who gave feedback that we could take on board, we have put into action already some of the things that they have identified, perhaps about the amount of time children are given to eat their lunch, for example, and we've taken that on board, and hopefully that will continue to feed into our programme so that many children will continue to eat school dinners at our school. The Small Steps initiative certainly helps us develop our relationship with the local authority. In particular, I was able to regularly email the head of service at St Helens Council, and it meant that we were able to communicate regularly about how the initiative was going along, and if I needed any help, she was always at the other end of an email to help me sort it out, and I feel we've developed a really good working relationship now, which I hope will continue. The Small Step Improvement workshops and the whole initiative were a very positive experience for us as a school. It gave us the opportunity to identify what our needs were in order to improve the uptake of school dinners, but it was also a wonderful opportunity to speak to other cooks, to speak to other healthy schools coordinators, and to find out what other schools were doing. And many of those ideas that we actually heard at those Small Step initiative workshops, we implemented. For example, moving the salad trolley is an example of something that we actually took from that, and I would thoroughly recommend that any school takes part in this Small Step initiative.
The Small Step Improvement Programme was incredibly helpful. I had the opportunity to speak to other cooks and pinch some of their ideas. I came away with a lot of ideas, and I was able to put them into force and to help myself and to give other information to other people and help themselves as well. One of the ideas I came away with was, instead of having the salad bar at the end of service, I put the salad bar right at the start, so the children had the opportunity to fill themselves with salad rather than having all the dinner and then not being able to put enough room for the salad on the trays. Other improvements I made, I changed the complete layout of the service. I have one entrance into the hall and one entrance out of the hall. The children now have, it's like a free flowing, so it all flows very nicely. I have a menu which I change every day right at the front of the school, so the parents see the menu as to drop the children off. The menus are distributed to the parents every day so that the parents can then plan their children's meals for the school week. I also display a menu board at the beginning of the hall so the children know what they're having each day. The parent taster sessions were very helpful. The parents were still under the impression that the school meals were what they had when they were at school, so they still thought it was all turkey twizzlers, everything was frozen and just shoved into the oven. Now the menus have changed completely. We do a hell of a lot of homemade stuff, so the children are getting a lot more nutrients and vitamins. The feedback we've had really is reflected in the numbers. When we very first started the Small Steps Improvement, it was about 90 hot dinners a day. We have now reached 187 hot dinners a day, so we've practically doubled our numbers. The Small Steps Improvement Programme has sort of awakened the idea of hot meals with the teachers and the other staff as well. We now have a regular teacher that comes in and has a hot meal, and she comes and sits with the children in her class and eats her dinner with the children. The future plans we have, the reception intake that starts in September, we do plan to get them to come in with a parent and have a free meal. So before they actually join school, they know what's on offer, and then they will be able to make their mind up rather than just being put straight into packed lunches.
The school food before the improvement, it was okay, but the improvement was definitely better. The layout of the dining hall was, I didn't really like it because you couldn't really chat to your friends properly and you had to speak up a bit. But now you can just chat to your friend like a normal old-fashioned way. Before the improvements were made, we used to line up and we all just went in basically, and it was all just really crammed and all just, you were really squashed and people pushed in. But now we taken in turns for going in, and now it's really nice and great. The dining room before the improvements are made, where I think it was a lot squished, and now it's improved. You get a bit more spread out, and you can really talk to your friends more than having to shout over people. They would put your friends or the packed lunches onto a different table, and the hot dinners onto another table. But now you can just sit and chat with your friends from packed lunches and hot dinners. My favourite food is the vegetable lasagna.
That's great.
Probably the tuna bake. It's really nice.
If I were to offer any tips to any other school as to how to improve the school meals, one thing I probably would say to them is to be prepared to take risks, prepared to think out of the box. Because when we as a team sat down and thought about how we were going to increase the take-up of school meals, the idea of the parental taster sessions came up. And I suppose there was a cost implication there, because how do you fund 421 children and 421 adults taking a school meal? It's an expensive business. But we decided that that was the thing to do in order to succeed. And we took that risk, and because that's what we decided to do, we decided we needed to make approaches to people to see where we would get that funding from. And I think if schools are prepared to think out of the box and take risks, funding is always out there if schools are prepared to go and look for it.